Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett, and this is going to be, I don't want to say a somber episode, but it's not going to be a happy one. So we had a lot that has gone on even in the last 18 hours. It's been wild. Obviously, the show is presented by the Grid Network. I forgot to mention that. So I want to thank you to the Grid for hosting the show, obviously. And we're going to start off with the Celtics. I mean, there is no way else to put this. The Celtics suck right now. I mean, it has been just an unbelievable tragedy, I think, what has gone on. To be honest with you, I had everything prepared last night. I was walking in thinking that, today's show was going to be, really we're going to start with game one. We're going to really dive deep into game one and just kind of, lack of a better word, bitch and complain about, the shot selection, how stupid they were. But then we'd get to game two. It'd be fine. Okay, they might have missed some, important shots, but they'd come back. They'd win. We'd be tied up at one apiece. Well, joke's on you. No, joke's on me. Fool me twice, right? It was absolutely asinine what happened last night. I mean, I tried to go live for a minute, tried to do like a live reaction. Once I was done with the live reaction, I had to delete the video. I'm going to be honest. It was just so bad. Not my reaction. No, my reaction was spot on. But it was just, I couldn't believe what I saw. I couldn't believe that the Celtics, this team that was just it was dominant last year. Everybody wanted to make a joke about how easy their road was. And, the Celtics had it so easy. They didn't win a real championship last year. And they had their slip-ups this year. I came on the show. I even talked about, hey, they kind of acting like the old Celtics. Well, sure enough, this is the old Celtics. I mean, this is a 2023 Celtics versus Miami Heat all over again. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll go down 3-0 and then we'll win 4 straight with ease. We swept this team in the regular season, right? That's what we did. We can shoot 25% from 3 at home, losing games in the fashion that they did. I mean, hello, guys. Like, this is not November. This is, what's today? May. This is the second round of the playoffs. I mean, what are we doing? Right? Not to and just to recap again, both games ended without the Celtics getting a shot off. 108-105, game one, 91-90, game two. And both times, the Celtics couldn't even get a freaking shot off. It was just wildly unbelievable. Wildly unbelievable to the point where, yeah, I was pissed. I am still pissed. As a Celtics fan, how can you not be? This is a team that, okay, their 3-point attempt rate, it's very high. I mean, as I pointed out last week, just looking at the regular season stats, the middle column, the 3-point attempts, 48.2. 48.2. Now they are at 50 even through 2 games, and they have missed 75 3-point attempts, which is an NBA history for most misses in a 2-game span. And when it comes to the 3-point attempts, I really don't like to take it seriously. I think it just all I'm doing when I say that is highlighting an aspect of their game where they refuse to change. They refuse to change. I mean, this team, no team in basketball, has gone up 20 points in the playoffs in consecutive games and lost them both. These two games, in my opinion, have been These two games have been the most disrespectful games to the sport of basketball. It truly has been just the ultimate sign of disrespect. It has, because they don't play the game how it should be. And I've talked about this show, and I'm going to talk about it tonight because we're living it live. But the analytics have ruined sports. And this is prime example. Of course, it's going against my team, but if we're going to try to fix this whole nerd issue and analytics and numbers will tell us everything, and numbers are always right. Tim, numbers are always right. We're living out the fact that no, numbers are not. Numbers are not right, but we'll get more to that in just a minute. The funny part is, even like before this series, if you told me that the Celtics were going to allow 199 total points in 2 games and that they would lose both those games, and I'm not even talking about the 20-point match. I'm just saying they allowed 199 points through 2 games, and you tell me they're going to lose, I'm going to laugh in your face. I'm going to be like, are you serious? No. There's no way. No way they're going to allow that many points and still find a way to lose. Sure enough, they have. It's been just wildly, unbelievable to me. So the first thing I kind of want to do is, it's been interesting because with this, I feel like I'm getting pulled in 1,000 different directions. On the one hand, it's Joe Mazzulla. On the other hand, it's Jason Tatum. On the other hand, it's the hack of Mitchell Robinson. It's the most 3-point attempts. It's all these different things, right? And first thing I want to do is I just want to look at the game plan, right? So the game plan, obviously, is they're sticking to the 3-point attempts. Why? Because to them, they believe that 3s are better than 2s. Well, if you do math, right, 3 minus 2 equals 1, so that's 1 greater point. If you take a 2, well, you get it, right? You get it. Obviously, when you make the shot, it is. But when you miss, it's a bit more daunting. Why? Because when you look, again, I'm just going to throw it up there some more. When you look at these numbers, right, the best 3-point shooting team this season, now that's on the far right column. The Bucks at 38.7, Cavs at 38.3, Suns at 37.8, T-Wolves 37.7, and the Nuggets at 37.6. So again, you're the best team in the NBA this regular season shot under 40% from 3. So, in other words, getting a 3-point attempt is no gimme. It really isn't. That's what boggles my mind, is that it doesn't matter if it's contested. It doesn't matter if you're wide open. You still have a slightly above 1 out of 3 chance of making that shot. You don't even have a 4 out of 10 chance or a 2 out of 5 chance. If you do math, it's the same, 40%. You don't have that high of a margin. It's going to be 1 out of 3, 33%. With, of course, plus or minus, right? 33 you could call maybe the base. But they still go to it consistently to the point where they just look effing stupid doing it. And the reason why I say that is because when you go back to game 1, right? Game 1, this is why I would argue it was the most disrespectful, right? Game 1 really was just full of stupidity because the Celtics, mind you, they had in the third quarter, so they were up 20 points in the third quarter. And they found a way to not shoot a single two-pointer in the third quarter. Look at this shot on the right-hand side. You see the Celtics all in green. 1 2-point attempt. Yes, you can see some of those dots, especially the top. They look like they're on the line. They were classified as 3-point attempts. Every single shot was classified as a 3-point attempt in the third quarter of game 1. They had 20 shots in the third quarter as a whole, and 1, that's right, 1 was a 2-pointer, and it was in the freaking paint. You want to know why you lost? I would argue both of these games, but especially game 1, is because you had stupid stuff like that. You like, how can you explain to me that you're playing good basketball when this is the shooting shot? At least when you look at the Knicks, there's a good variety. Yes, mostly in the paint, and then mostly around both wings, but still variety. That's why they came back both times. And that's the other thing I do want to I want to throw it out there. I still don't respect the Knicks. I still think that the Knicks aren't better than the Celtics. I do. You're going to call me crazy, but I don't. I don't respect the Knicks. Why? Because this is the Celtics beating themselves. Clear as day. This has nothing to do with the Knicks. The Knicks understand that there's still a game to be played. Sure, they've performed in certain moments, but to say necessarily clutch, I wouldn't go that far. OG Anunoby had a great game 1. Mikal Bridges came out of nowhere, who scored 0 points in the first 3 quarters of game 2 to rack off 14 or 17 points in the fourth quarter. Like, they haven't impressed me. They haven't. This series has been entirely the Celtics' fault. Right now, the Celtics are going to win the game or they're going to lose the game. The Knicks aren't going to play a role in this. They're not. It was one of those things where, just thinking about it, let me ask you, and comment down below. Let me ask you, would you take wide open threes knowing that you're going to go 25%? Or would you take those wide open threes and instead of shooting them, you're going to dribble to the hole where you're going to shoot, let's say 45%, from 2. So you're going to take, you're either going to get 25% from 3, or you're going to dribble to the hole and you're going to shoot 45%. Which would you rather have? Because the analytic, and prefacing the 3-pointers are going to be wide open shots. All right? They're going to be wide open. Because to me, it's going to be easily, give me the 45% from 2. Drive to the hole. Let's force the issue here. That's what bothers me more than anything. And this is getting back to game planning. Because if you look at Tatum's shot chart in the fourth quarter of game 1, he had 2 shots from 2, but all 3-pointers, all from the same spot, all misses. Every single one of them was a miss. There were no easy buckets for him. Like this, I've said it on this show. This was supposed to be the playoff series for Tatum. For Tatum to arrive. For Tatum to show his stuff. And he hasn't done that at all. He showed up at the end of the Magic game, which I still believe national fans fans of other teams still don't care what Tatum did, at the end of the Magic game, because like me, they're going to look at the Magic and be like, well, you should have beaten them in 4-5 games. You should have. Right now, Tatum can't buy a bucket. And that's really where I want to start in terms of who do I put blame on, right? Because that's the $1 million question. Who's there to blame? What's going on with this team where somebody's got to take the blame for this? Is it Tatum? Is it Mazzulla? Is it Brown? Is it Brad Stevens? Who is it? And right now, I would start with Tatum. I love Jason Tatum. I do. He's got to be my favorite player on the team. It's him and Derek White. Those are my two guys. No disrespect to the other guys on the team. I love them all. But if I had to pick. Sorry. Sorry. You're all 2B or 2A. How about that? So the thing that kills me, though, is so far, in last night's game in particular, 13 points from Tatum, shooting 5 of 19 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. He had 14 rebounds, which is respectable, but he had 5 assists. He couldn't buy a bucket. And then last night, game 1 on Monday night, he was 7 of 23 from the field. He shot 4 of 15 from 3. He had 16 rebounds and 6 assists while getting 23 points. All right. So he really hasn't, especially last night, he hasn't shown to be the superstar. He hasn't shown to be the face of the league. Why? I don't know. I can't tell if he is taking it all himself. After last night, I don't believe he is. I mean, shooting 19 times. I mean, Jaylen Brown had 23 attempts. Derek White had 17. Al Horford had 11, who he had a hellacious night going 2 of 11. And Drew Holiday, 4 of 6, but he just didn't put any shots up, after that. And that's kind of what drives me crazy is Jason Tatum, and I believe wants to be the guy. I believe he is the guy and should be the guy, not just for the Celtics, but for the NBA. But these are the issues that he's running into. When he had that wrist injury in game 1, every one of the national media was like, oh, there he goes again. He's soft. This isn't Tatum. Whereas then he comes back and just dominates and uses the wrist to taunt and to show like, hey, I got this. Like, I'm good. But so far in this Knicks series, they're getting their looks. They're getting their shots. And yet they're not falling. And Joe Mazzulla, after game 1, kind of was a little rude to a reporter who's asking him about why the shots aren't falling, but the Knicks shot 50% in the fourth quarter in game 1. And he was like, oh, the duality of that question. And, oh, how funny is it? We're not making our shots, but they're making theirs. It's like, yeah, what's going on? Why is this happening? And then the worst part about that is, why are you still doing it? This is where coaching comes into play, and this is where I blame Mazzulla. Love him. He's a funny guy. When things are going well, he's a funny dude. Like he talks some serious, crazy stuff, especially when he goes on Beetle and Zoe or Zoe and Bertrand there. But I mean, where's the adjustment? What are we doing when the shots aren't falling? Here's an idea. Drive to the hole. And this goes both him and the team. Like, this should be kind of ingrained in your head, but everybody today, this is Steph Curry's fault, by the way. This is Steph Curry's fault. How did the three become more impressive than the dunk, right? When everybody back in the day was driving to the hole, getting to the paint, that was part of the game. You know, these shot charts had a much bigger variety. Now, this is the fourth quarter of the game, but all these 3-point attempts or shooting from the threes are vastly different. You know, I mean, goodness gracious, you're either in the paint or you're behind the line. There's no in between. No in between. That didn't happen 20 years ago. That wasn't the game back then. You know, KG would spot from the top of the circle every time. You know, he'd take one step in from the top of the key, bam, money every time. Tim Duncan, just outside the paint, banks it off the glass on the elbow every time. You know, it was money. Like, that's the problem. That's the other part of the problem with the NBA. But going back to Joe Mazzulla, these guys, they're so bought in. They're so bought into this analytics and the numbers, and the numbers speak everything. The numbers speak truth to life. Newsflash for you. I got to make sure I got my voice right. They don't. They're numbers. What don't you understand? These scientists are scientists for a reason, because they don't act in real life. We're humans, damn it. We do. Everything changes for us in real time. You know, how I do on this show when I'm prepping, how I'm talking during is not going to equate how I speak when I'm live. You know, like that's the funny part. This is a live game. This isn't practice. Going back to Allen Iverson 20 plus years ago. You know, this isn't practice. Just because you're hitting 50, 60% in a pickup game doesn't mean you're going to hit 50, 60 when you're shooting. Just because you shoot, 36% during the regular season, or against the Knicks, you're shooting 45% from three. When it comes to the playoff time, guess what? Things change. Butts get a little tighter. You clenched up a little bit. You're a little bit more nervous. You lose too many games in a row, bam, you're gone. See ya. You know? Like, that's what is just so mind-boggling to me. It's like these guys, they're so hell-bent. Joe Mazzulla, and this goes to that comment, too, about the duality of the question. They're so hell-bent on the numbers are always right. The numbers speak truth to facts. They don't. You know why? Because even though you have a wide-open three, even though it's wide open, the guy, according to the definition, by the way, just to understand, so we understand what wide open means, in the NBA basketball terms, a, quote, wide open shot is defined as a shot where the nearest defender is at least 6 feet away from the shooter at the time the shot is attempted. Now, it's kind of a big distance. And the Celtics, they were right there. And you know this as well as I do. They had plenty of wide open shots that just would not fall. And the analytics, this is why I hate analytics. I hate the nerds. I hate all this thing that comes with sports. Why? Because nerds drive me up a wall. I have said it once on this show. I will say it again. There is nerds speaking truth to numbers, or numbers speaking truth to sports is wrong. The numbers lie every single time. And sure, we can use numbers to help evaluate, like we did, when we talked about 3-point percentage, shooting percentage, basic things like that. But now you want to go to expected this, expected that. No, we're not about that life. Because when all is said and done, and I had a feeling that their 3-point attempts were going to catch up to them in the postseason. I didn't think it would be now. I didn't think it would be the second round. But analytics believe that wide open threes are more efficient than driving to the paint. Hence my example earlier. Would you rather consistently shoot 25% from three, knowing that all those shots are going to be wide open, or would you rather shoot 45% drive into the hole, whether you're going to take a mid-range or you're going to drive to the basket? You're going to shoot 45%, but it's all going to be contested. Which would you rather have? I think it's a no-brainer. You should take the contested twos, because you have a much higher shooting percentage at that. But the analytics are going to tell you differently. Why? Because all those 3-pointers are wide open. Every single time in both these games, the Celtics had 20-point leads, as I mentioned earlier. When you look at this, in game one, they were up 72-52 with 6:19 in the third. And then in game two, 70-50 with 4:03 left in the third. So they had even less time to make that up. Now, just as a caveat, I'm going to say this. And yes, you could argue this is me taking away from the Knicks, but when you really think about it, think about it. 20-point leads in the NBA today are nothing. They're 12 to 15-point leads back 20 years ago. When it really meant something when the Celtics overcame the Lakers' 24-point deficit that they had at the Staples Center in 2008. 24 points back then was a lot. That was nail in the coffin, done. See you later. We'll come back for game 4 or game 5 back, because that was game 4. Not anymore. 20-point leads. And then I'm not just saying that because the Celtics lost. No. Look at all the 20-point leads that teams have blown over the course of the last 3 years. It's been quite a few, And I'm just saying blown. It doesn't mean they lost, but they've allowed a tie, So there's been a lot. But each of these situations, the Knicks have gone on these 7-0, 8-0, 9-0 runs. And then what do the Celtics do in the exact same run? They take these threes. They take these contested, uncontested, doesn't matter. They take these stupid threes instead of forcing the issue, driving to the paint, and actually making the Knicks defend. Because if you're just going to sit back there and take threes all day, hey, as a defense, as a player, let's go. I don't have to do jack. I just got to stick with you, and I know you're going to take a three. So, sure, cool. We're going to be right around the line every single time. But the problem is, especially when you go back to game 1, right? Karl Anthony Towns. I was 2/3, right? Karl Anthony Towns got his third foul with 9:46 remaining in the second quarter. 3. Jalen Brunson got his third foul with 2:45 remaining in the second quarter. And you're going to sit back and just take uncontested threes all game, or contested, however you want to frame it? Like, yeah, sure. We're not going to drive to the hole. We're not going to force the issue. We're not going to we're not going to try to get Karl Anthony Towns to foul out. No, we don't want that. We want Mitchell Robinson in, and I'll get to him in just a minute. But make this make sense, right? You have 2 of their best players who Karl Anthony Towns, kind of played better in game 2 for a time against Al Horford, but that was it. And then otherwise, you have these two players who are the Knicks' best players in extreme foul trouble. All honesty, if they kept playing the way they were playing, or they played the way they played against Orlando, both Brunson and Cat would have been out of there in the third quarter. Because that's the style they were playing. They were playing hard. They were playing aggressive, hence building the 20-point lead. As I showed, the 72-52-point lead. It's right there for the taking. And this goes to show, too, that the players, everybody, they're so focused on the analytics themselves. They're so focused on the numbers that they don't even understand. Sometimes it feels like they don't understand how to play the game. When you get guys into foul trouble, here's an idea. Keep going. Keep driving. Keep getting to the free throw line. That's what is bothering all of Celtics Nation. And it just, you can't keep doing this. You can't. And when the Knicks start to make these slow comebacks, when the Celtics go up 20 and proceed to take the foot off the gas and just chuck up threes, hoping that they fall, the Knicks come back and the Celtics have no way to stop the bleeding. They don't. Because it's not part of their DNA. It's not part of the makeup of this team, of the coaching staff. You know, you have Sam Cassell on the bench, a former player who played during one of the best eras of basketball. You know, you have Drew Holiday, who's won 2 titles in Milwaukee and here last year. There's no way you still cannot convince me that the Knicks are a better team, because in the NBA, let's face it, in the NBA, the better team always wins. 99% of the time. Yes, you do have the rare outliers where the lower seed who didn't do so well, you know, made it. But then when you look at those lower seeds, you could argue, well, they actually were the better team. They just dealt with injuries all season and then got healthy come time for the playoffs. Golden State is a prime example right now, you know. But they just lost Steph Curry too, so that's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. But I swear, it's the nerds of basketball, the analytics, the numbers. They don't work. They don't. I mean, I don't know about you, but you could see in the fourth quarter the entire Celtics roster just squeezed real tight, and they're like, "Oh no, we're not going to win." And they got scared. They weren't playing loose. They were playing scared. Last year, they were playing loose. Last year, my God, this wouldn't have affected them. I don't know why. I don't know what is going on with them right now. And, you know, and so getting back to, you know, the coaching a little bit, this whole Hacker Robinson conundrum that Joe Mazzulla has been putting into practice has to be one of the stupidest things I think I've ever seen. And Tom Thibodeau has been brilliant about it. He's like, sure, keep fouling the guy because we're going to get into the bonus. So then when you foul OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, I don't know if he's a great free throw shooter or not, but if you foul these guys, guess what? They're going to the line even if they're not taking shots because you're too stupid to follow to follow a guy who sucks, who can't shoot from the free throw line. He can't. I mean, that free throw attempt where it looked like he drilled the person behind the net. I mean, yeah, it was awful. Awful. But you're putting yourself in these situations where they're getting to the bonus that much faster. And Joe Mazzulla was asked about that last night. Why are you doing this? Why is it so important to follow Mitchell Robinson? I swear I can't say that word. But and he was just like, oh, well, he was a plus 19. He's excellent on both offense and defense. He gets and he goes on, and you can tell he's pissed. He doesn't like having to answer these questions. He doesn't like having to defend his point of view, because to him, it's, look at the numbers here, people. You're stupid because the numbers say everything. Whereas I would say the reverse. Joe, you're stupid because you can't adjust in game. And again, love Joe Mazzulla. I do. I mean it. But you're acting foolish. You're acting childish, trying to defend something that is, quite honestly, indefensible. But him and all the other guys, JJ Redick is another one. They're so hell-bent on, numbers, that you're almost dictating the way the game is going by the box score rather than by what you're seeing on the court. What you're seeing on the court is a team that can't get their head out of their ass. It's just, it's true. I mean, right? Comment down below. The Celtics, can the Celtics, pull their heads out of their asses? I mean, yes or no? It's a simple question. I mean, damn, but still, this is what I don't understand. Getting back to the Hacker Robinson thing, he's plus 19. You know why? Because we haven't hit our shots. He's not Shaq. He's not Dikembe Mutombo. He's not Akeem Olajuwon down low at the paint. He's no Patrick Ewing. He's not going to take anybody out the way that Patrick Ewing used to. So go to the hole. Guys, it's not hard. You could say as men, it's instinctive to go to the hole, right? But, I mean, plus 19. He was the only Knick, I think, last night, who was in the positive plus-minus range. Actually, no, he wasn't. All the three bench players, including Mitchell Robinson, were all in the positive. All starters for the Knicks were in the minus category on the plus-minus. But it's because the Celtics are playing foolish. The Celtics can't hit their shots. They're afraid to go down low. I don't know what is going on with them. They're like, well, and again, this is ridiculous, but to them, in analytics and the numbers, it doesn't matter because you're going to hit the next one. You're going to break even. You're going to, you're 1 of 10 from 3. That's fine. You're going to make the next 4 to level out the average. So you're a 35% three-point shooter and you're shooting 20%. Oh, don't worry. You're going to hit the next 5 three-pointers in a row because that's going to level the averages out. That's how these people think. That's how they think. Yeah, and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over here. Whereas me, I would think you. I mean, if comment below. Do you agree with the numbers or not? Because if you don't, you're right in line with me. All right, we're on the same wavelength, right? But if you think numbers are important in sports and that they matter and that they should dictate how games are played, then love you mean it, but this show ain't for you because it's ridiculous to me. Ridiculous. How if you can believe that looking at a tablet, looking at your phone and analyzing the numbers, right? All of this, that is more important than pulling your head up and looking at what is going on in front of you. I mean, you really don't have to be an expert, I would argue, in any sport. You just have to understand the game, the nuances, and then after basic understanding, you can see the ebbs and flows. You can see the runs, the lows, the highs, the lows, like, what is going on. And I'm not saying that, I could be a coach, you could be a coach or anything, but from there, you can kind of dictate, oh, well, they should be doing this, that, and that. And then if they do, you're like, oh, well, see, look, that's exactly what I said. That's what they should have been doing all night long. But then when they don't, you're like, what are you doing? You're just, what is it? The definition of psychotic is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. I would argue that's what the Celtics are in right now. I would say the Celtics are kind of psychotic, right? Frequent commenter, not Doug, saying there is no feel for the game in analytics. Exactly. There is no feel. It's numbers. This is the problem that I have with AI. It's the problem that I have with computers. Like, listen, I love it for, helpful things, doing, basic research and all, having, the everything kind of at my fingertips. But then if you want me to, use it in real life and dictate life. I mean, here's a perfect example, right? How many of you have called up, some company like Verizon or whatever phone company or a big company like that outsources their call center, right? But before you can even get to the call center, you have to talk to the robot, and the robot can't understand your voice. So you're going back and forth with the robot, getting pissed at the robot because you're like, no, asshole, like, I'm doing this. I want this. And it's like, and then it'll be like, please wait while I transfer you to our local resident or nearest or next call center person or whatever. And you're like, finally, that's what I wanted in the first place. Human to human contact, right? Screw the robots. Have you ever seen iRobot? Have you ever seen Terminator? No more robots, right? So, I don't know. Analytics, you don't get a flow for it. You don't get a feel for it. And these two games have really been perfect for my line of thinking, for your line of thinking, if you agree with me on the anti-analytic war on analytics, right? Because it proves our point. The crappy thing is the Celtics are the ones committing this atrocity, right? It's going against our team, and that's not fun. That's not good. So the Celtics find themselves down 2-0, but the Red Sox, who have finally, I don't want to say finally because they're going to be going back and forth, it feels like, all season, but they finally reached or gotten above 500 again after this afternoon's win against Texas. Unfortunately, the Red Sox ran into a big issue last Friday where Tristan Casas blew out his left knee. And for those of you who follow me on X, if you haven't, please do. All my social medias are right here below. So please like, share, subscribe. We'll love you, mean it. Or love you mean if you do. But he blew out his knee, and with all the Tristan Casas flack that I've given him over the last year and a half, I still don't like when players get injured. And it wasn't a pretty sight. You feel bad for the guy, and I did. But I will say, my first gut reaction was, tweeting about it, just saying, and they never saw him again. Because if you look at the way this guy has acted, the way this guy has talked, I don't know, it kind of fit the feel. And this is before I knew he blew out his knee. Like he ruptured his patella tendon. I didn't know the extent of the injury. I just knew it was a knee injury. And obviously it's always serious when you have to deal with the knee. But Yeah, sure. I was making a little lighthearted joke. I don't, apologize for it. But at the same time, I'm going to say I don't like the fact that he got injured. I might not like him as a player. I might want to trade him, or I would have wanted to trade him for a much, bigger piece. If we could have gotten Garrett Crochet for Tristan Cassis, I would have been thrilled. I would have. But that's not how it happened. Regardless, back to it. For those of you who haven't seen it, which it's almost been a week, but here's the video of Cassis getting injured.
The left knee is the one that he hurt. So
yeah,
I was looking at the one that hit the bag. But
yeah, I was too.
It's the left knee right there, the way it landed.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel awful for the guy. I really do. And I genuinely mean that. It's the one thing about sports that is never easy is having to deal with injuries. And, there are so many players throughout history who have suffered injuries early in their career and major injuries, and were just never the same, and some of which never even made a comeback, So I pray, that Cassis does make a full recovery. He is back. He's ready for 2026. And then he can finally find that 40 home run swing of his, right? That's what he said he was going to do this year. But, I truly do mean it. My heart's out to Cassis and, his family, and just that, he's okay. I think he underwent successful surgery, so that's good. But, yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And the problem is that the Red Sox are left without a first baseman. We have to shuffle through Romy Gonzalez and Adrian Toro, who was a call-up for the minors. And with that, I go, well, again, kind of everybody else was saying it. I was thinking about it myself. Why not Devis? Devis played the corner right field. He was playing third base, and why not just take him out of DH, move him back in? Great opportunity to call up Roman Anthony, who's been absolutely crushing it, by the way, in AAA. But what a prime example, right? You can free up the DH spot. Hell, even try to bring back Matsutaka Yoshida. Where the hell has he been? Talk about taking his sweet time coming back from injury. And again, the Red Sox were saying that, Yoshida was saying that he's almost ready. The Red Sox were saying that he's nowhere ready. It's like, what are we doing here? You're paying this guy $70, $90 million? He should be back by now. Regardless, the best part was for the last, so basically since Friday up until this afternoon, which is just phenomenal timing. Phenomenal timing. You love to see it, right? It couldn't have happened at a better time. There was speculation of, okay, who's talking to Devers? Has anybody talked to Devers? Are we moving Rafael Devers to first? That is the logical choice. But, and so when Alex Cora was presented with that question, he's like, no, I'm not even going to talk to him about it. It was basically adamant about it. It's not happening. And then, excuse me, Craig Breslow hasn't said much about it. And Rafael Devers was kind of quiet up until post-game today, where he killed it, by the way. He had a great game where he hit his 6th home run of the year. The Red Sox won 5-0. And Devers was 2 for 3 at the plate and didn't strike out, which is huge. When he had that trouble striking out a lot early in the year, which talk about in this brief article here. But Rafael Devers' quotes after tonight's game, or this afternoon's game, were just spot on. Chef's kiss. Honestly, it was great. Because in this article by Christopher Smith on Mass Live, Manager Alex Cora has said in recent days the Red Sox do not plan to have a conversation with DH Rafael Devers about potentially moving to first base. Come to find out, a conversation was already had. That's quote unquote right from the story. I mean, how could you not love that? Really? You already had the conversation? Oh, please, Rafi, tell me how it went, right? Did it go well? Did it go bad? Who made the first move? Was it you? Was it them? Come on, please, let me know. Oh, and he does. So Rafael Devers said, quote, after the game, after this afternoon's game, quote, they had the conversation with me. I don't think, for me personally, it's the best decision after they asked me to play a different position, and I only have 2 months of playing this position. To all of a sudden have me try to play another position from my end, it doesn't seem like a good decision. Oh boy. We got some fire brewing. We got some fire. Oh, I love it. It's such a good, juicy story. So basically what it sounds like is Craig Breslow went to Devers and said, hey, we want you to play first base now. And Devers, not for nothing, I'll get to his attitude in a minute, but he's being a stick in the mud. He's being like, he's putting up a face. He's pouting. He's like, no, I'm not going to. I'm a child. I don't want to. It doesn't matter. He's 28 years old. He's a 28-year-old child, but regardless, gotta love the story. So then Devers goes on to say, I know I'm a ball player, but at the same time, they can't expect me to play every single position out there. In spring, they talked to me, basically told me to put my glove away, that I wasn't going to play any other position but DH. So right now, I just feel like it's not an appropriate decision by them to ask me to play another position. Now, that goes to a whole host of things. One of which being, I hate that. As not only a fan, but as just a baseball, as a baseball fan. Sure, let's go with that. How can you not want to play? You bitched and whined and complained all of spring training that you were getting taken away from third base to play DH, which isn't even a position. You're just basically hitting. That's it. Your job is to come in and hit. You're not playing a position. You're just hitting. That's it. But the best part of this has to be when Rafael Devers said, quote, and all this is through a translator, but how can you, here it is. Quote, they told me that they didn't want to allow me to play any other position. And now I think they should do their job essentially and hit the market and look for another player to play first base. I'm not sure why they want me to be in between the way they have me now. Oh my God. Let's go. Oh, that's just perfect. Perfect, right? I mean, talk about just sticking it to Craig Breslow and the Red Sox front office. And it actually makes sense as to why Cora was like, nope, we're not having this conversation. Nope, not doing it. Don't even want to entertain the idea of Devers playing first base. Why? Because he knows Devers. He's been in the locker room with him basically for the last 6 years. And he knows what happened every day in spring training. You think that, Devers didn't come to him complaining, saying that the front office screwed me, this, that, and the other. And, I wouldn't put it past him. I wouldn't put it past him. And now, when that question presented itself, Cora's like, Craig, you do the dirty work. I'm not getting involved in this. I know this is how this is going to turn out. And, dude, That's on you, kid. That's not on me. That's on you. So, and this is the result. This is the result. Cora's kind of shaking his head, going, saw this, called it. Like I'm not the bad guy here. Craig, you are. So I mean, that just could not have been any better. For a player to be that honest in this type of situation, in this day and age, perfection. Perfection. Like at its finest, especially for what I do. Right? So, Devers, again, when asked if he's going to change his mind, said, quote, "I don't think so. They told me I'm a little hard-headed. They already asked me to change once, and this time I don't think I can be as flexible." Asked, and then basically goes on to say that the Red Sox, don't stick true to their words, that they're liars, basically. And Devers goes on to question what Craig Breslow, how he does his job, saying, quote, "I don't understand some of the decisions that the GM makes. Next thing you know, someone in the outfield gets hurt and they want me to play in the outfield. I think I know the kind of player I am. And yeah, that's just where I stand." Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, first of all, yeah, I do kind of love it from, and I understand, Devers' perspective, and I love it because Craig Breslow is kind of just, again, he's another analytical nerd. I think John Henry is only focused on hiring nerds, though I will say, for this offseason, I'm not blaming the front office. I'm not blaming Craig Breslow like I have blamed him and Bloom in previous seasons, because he went out and did his job. He got Garrett Crochet. He was able to sign Alex Bregman. But when it comes to this, I mean, I don't disagree. There are some times where you're sitting there going, Craig, what are you doing? This is crazy. And to have him, and I do understand Craig's perspective too. You have to ask Devers to play first. But then for Devers to take it as all these slights, it's unbelievable to me. It really is. Because Devers has a long-term contract. He's set. He's good. Like, this isn't a contract year for him where he wants to get his maximum value, at the end of the season. No, this is a whole different ball game. And that's why because he's set, he's fine, he's good. So that's why I look at this and I'm annoyed at him. I'm annoyed at him because, yeah, you should be wanting to get back out in the field. You should want to be a team player, Rafi. Like it's not hard. I mean, yeah, we can all look back on the Moneyball movie where you had Ron Washington go to Scott Hatterberg's house and be like, "It's incredibly difficult to go from catcher to first base." Yeah, but you had guys like Kevin Millar the other night on Nesson basically say, and this is before this came out, basically say you got to do what's best for the team. He played a ton of different positions, but he figured it out. He was able to do it. So it's wild. And I do think Rafael Devers is acting like a 28-year-old child. You're getting paid over $300 million for the entire life of this contract. What are you thinking? Suck it up. Don't forget, you're the employee of the Boston Red Sox. I feel like a lot of the athletes nowadays kind of forget that they are the employee. It's not their business. I mean, to some degree, but it's not their business and they can do whatever they want. No, they're the employee of the team that pays them. Right? And so something like this, yeah, it is absolutely childish. And it's funny to me that he, and like I said, I also give Devers credit for it, that he is throwing it out there, being like, no, I don't want it. I don't want it. You do it. You do it if you're so good at it. Like that's what I sit back and I laugh at. That Devers is just so hell bent on sticking it to ownership after they went out and signed a better defensive third baseman. As overall and as a hitter, no. But Bregman, is better than Devers at playing third base. So it only makes sense. It's wild, because the Red Sox are caught between a rock and a hard place. Like, who are they going to go after? Who are they going to get? And if they have to go out and get somebody, one, how good is he? And two, are you going to have to give up any prospects? The whole point of the last, half decade was to build up the prospect pool. Now it's been, just now it's where we should be at the point of taking those prospects, bringing them to the big leagues, and going after winning championships or attempting to win championships. Like it shouldn't be hard, but this Red Sox team just can't get out of their own way. Whether it's this, that, or the other. There's always something with this team. Always something. And, like I mentioned earlier, I say, screw it. You got to call up the kids. You really do. Roman Anthony is killing it down in AAA, batting .301, .417 OBP, .496 slugging, a .913 OPS, which on base plus slugging percentage. I know, numbers, crazy. But he's got 5 doubles, 5 homers, 17 RBIs, and Marcelo Meyer doing pretty damn good himself. Got a .273 average, .328 OBP, .504 slugging, and an .833 OPS. He's got 5 doubles, 7 homers, and 35 RBIs. Needless to say, the kids are ready. They're ready. Campbell has been pretty good himself. Christian Campbell, like I like what I've seen from this kid at the plate. I don't like when they throw him into the outfield, but for him to be batting .277 in his first stint, let's go. He's got it, and so don't those two. They really need to be called up. They really do, and it is kind of annoying that the Red Sox, I don't know if they want to do it just based on timing, like in terms of, how long can they have them on the rookie contracts? And, because after a certain amount of games, the timer starts and they become free agents shortly thereafter. I don't know. I mean, I do know that, but I'm saying, like, I don't know if it's that or they truly believe that that those guys aren't ready. They're done. They're ready. The chicken's cooked. Like, pull it out of the oven and just let's eat. Let's eat, baby. Dinner is served. So, oh my goodness. So the Red Sox they need to get their acts together. I really feel like, it's all drama related. It really has. And, the next team that I want to talk about, it's not really the team so far. It's actually kind of you, the fans. When talking about the Patriots, and listen, I do want to thank you guys, by the way. Well, hold on. I want to talk about the Patriots, like this situation. But, my gripe kind of with this team right now is related to the Hall of Fame vote. For those of you who didn't know, or you should, but the Patriots Hall of Fame had their list of three nominees. It was Adam Vinatieri, Logan Mankins, and Julian Edelman. All three of which I think are well-deserved to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. I really do. And they were hell of a talent, hell of great players, just whether it was just stout offensive line protection by Logan Mankins, to the game-winning kicks from Adam Vinatieri, to just being Mr. Clutch, in the biggest moments with Julian Edelman at receiver. He might not have put up the regular season numbers, but his postseason numbers speak for themselves. It is true. Each one of them absolutely should be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But yeah, the issue that I have is not with the committee, because when you look at who gets voted in, right? Who the Patriots are able to select for the Patriots Hall of Fame, there are a few pieces of criteria. So first, the biggest piece of criteria is that the player has to be 4 years removed from playing or coaching their entire career. So Adam Vinatieri retired after the 2019 season. He should have been eligible last year, but Robert Kraft waived everything to put Tom Brady in, which was great. Great Tom Brady night, and just a lot of great moments reliving that. But after that, then you have a selection committee made up of media, staff, Patriots alumni, who then pick their top 3. And of course, there's a point scale. You get 8 points for being 1. You got 5 points for being 2, and I think you get 3 points for being 3rd. Add all the points together, you have the top 3, and that's who then us as fans get to vote on. Well, Julian Edelman got in, and first and foremost, congrats to Julian Edelman. I am extremely happy that he got in. Like I said, rightfully deserves to be in. He was an unbelievable player, one of my favorites. I can't speak enough about him. Enough great things. Just in terms of his playing career and what he meant to the city and the team, and being Tom Brady's buddy, or blanket, I should say. Whenever Tom needed a first down, it was Julian Edelman right there every single time. But, and I hate to do this, I wish I could be happier. I really do. But the fact that Adam Vinatieri was not selected in technically his first year on the ballot is wild to me. It's absolutely wild. And yeah, I'm kind of pissed. I'm kind of pissed at the fans, because I feel like it's a lot of, I feel like it's a lot of kids who never lived through the Snow Bowl. They didn't see Super Bowl 36. They didn't understand the 9/11 Patriots, red, white, and blue, being at the Snow Bowl, with the kicking a 45-yarder against the wind where you couldn't even see the ball travel through the uprights. Then to win in the Super Bowl that year against the Rams, 2 years later, do the same thing after not making a single field goal in Reliant Stadium up until the game winner. His kick got blocked earlier in Super Bowl 38. Not a lot of people remember that. But he did not make a single kick in Reliant Stadium up until that moment, up until he won us the game 32-29 against the Panthers. Adam Vinatieri was instrumental to us winning 3 championships in 4 years, for us to become a dynasty. And yes, I was just as angry as everybody else in 2005 when he left us and went to Indianapolis, our arch rival at the time, with Peyton friggin' Manning. And then he finished his career in Indy. But the older I got, the more I understood that, Bill Belichick stiffed him. And he didn't want to go through with that. So that, and I don't blame him. Hey, you know what? Get your money. It just sucks that you pulled, he was the first to pull a Ray Allen to go to the Heat. He went to the Colts. Johnny Damon going to the Yankees, Jacoby Ellsbury going to the Yankees. But it sucked to feel that, pain and anger towards a great player who, when you're looking at everything, Adam Vinatieri is the greatest kicker in NFL history. No two ways about it. So for everybody, and yes, it's with the fans, but I also have a problem, I think, with just recency bias in general, where it's all just like, what are you doing? Like, just because something happened yesterday doesn't mean that was the best thing ever when looking at something that happened 20, 30 years ago. That was better. Sports Center was better 20 years ago than it is today. They don't care. ESPN doesn't care about you. They don't care. And that's why ESPN as a whole has sucked in the last 10 years, because they took away the Sports Center. But just going back to everything, it's Julian Edelman. Yeah, he was the second half of the dynasty. He made that unbelievable catch against Atlanta where it was clear as day. It was a catch. His hand got underneath the ball. He threw the bomb to Danny Amendola to tie the game against the Ravens in Gillette Stadium in 2014. The year we went on to win, he won Super Bowl 53 MVP. But do we have all of this? Do we have this and that without? Well, I mean, we have Tom Brady, but I'm just saying, do we have the dynasty without Adam Vinatieri's foot? 45 yards against the wind, snow coming down extremely thick, and somehow, some way, that ball just got over the fingertips of the Oakland Raiders defensive line, sailed, low line drive in the black and night. You can't make out the ball or the snow after it travels 10 yards in the air. And somehow, some way, the refs are just like looking at each other going, it's good. Like, to tie the game and what that meant to old Foxborough Stadium. Again, you watch the Tuck Rule 30 for 30. It's the Snowball. Just fun fact. It should be called the Snowball. But you watch that documentary. Charles Woodson says himself, he's like, if we win that game, we go on, we beat Oakland, we win the Super Bowl against the Rams, which, again, it's all hearsay. You don't understand. But they very easily could have gone back-to-back. They could have gone back-to-back. I mean, 2002 would have been a very different year, because had they beaten the Patriots, John Gruden probably stays in Oakland. And then he's there for the 2002 season with Rich Gannon, Charles Woodson, and everybody. He doesn't go to Tampa with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Brad Johnson, and Rondé Baba. So again, Adam Vinatieri's foot is a hell of a lot more important to the Patriots than I think people realize. And when looking at it, I mean, comment down below. Did we as fans get it right? Edelman, 12 seasons in New England, third all-time playoff receptions and receiving yards, Super Bowl 53 MVP. Adam Vinatieri kicked the game-winning field goal in the final seconds of 2 Super Bowls, all-time leader in playoff field goals made. I mean, I've forgiven Adam Vinatieri a long time ago for going to Indianapolis. Just like I've forgiven Ray Allen for going to Miami. I mean, it's not me to forgive, but as a fan, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it now. Like, they couldn't care less about my forgiveness, and I don't blame them. But again, in the heat of the moment that time, yeah, it sucked that they went there. It sucked that they went to our rival. But it's fine. Hey, I've cheered Adam Vinatieri his whole career for the most part. Maybe the late 2000s I kind of was, silent. But it's that type of thing where I don't know. Like, I want to be happy for Julian Edelman, and I am. I'm very happy, and I mean it. Like, I think he's a hell of a player. He was, one of my favorites. Just the squirrel, yelling at Tom Brady, "You're old, you're old." Like, it was great. Just the little things that he did. It wasn't even those big time moments. It's just the little things. The security blanket that he was for Tom Brady when Tom needed a first down, when we needed a touchdown, when we needed to extend a drive and keep it going. So it is, but it's, this is what I don't like. This is what I don't like as, for the Patriots Hall of Fame. I would almost revoke fan voting tomorrow, to be honest with you, because a lot of things now, we're so wrapped up in our phones, our laptops, our iPads, whatever, in front of the TV here. We're so wrapped up in it that we don't appreciate the past. We don't appreciate what got us here. And I feel like this was one of those moments. And Julian Edelman absolutely, unequivocally, no brainer, deserves to be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. But when looking at it, compared to Adam Vinatieri, I'm sorry. Adam Vinatieri should be there. He should be there. So, again, tell me what you think down below. I want to know what you hear. And then you can even hit me up all across social media. Let me know. Should Edelman beaten out Vinatieri, or should have been Vinatieri? But lastly, I just want to talk briefly about the Bruins. It's going to be like 30 seconds. But with the Bruins, they got porked. They really did. They had the 5th worst record in the NHL, just to fall down to the 7th overall draft pick, who in the team that beat them, they had 8.5% odds to win the lottery. The Bruins did. And yet the team that won the lottery had had less than 4% chance of winning the lottery, which, again, I'm sorry. That was stupid. And I know that, hey, they did it live. It wasn't rigged. It's not like the NBA where they did it behind closed doors and then, revealed it the worst. Like, I get it. I still think it's stupid. I still think it's rigged. I still believe that, what? If you're the worst team, then you should be, I hate it, rewarded for it. Because at the end of the day, you play to win the game. That's how you play. But when you play to win the game and you still suck, that pick should be yours. You should be getting, and for the Bruins' sake, yeah, they should have gotten the number 5 overall pick. I was hoping, I was praying that by some strange miracle, the Bruins would get lucky enough to get the top 5 or get the number 1 or number 2 overall pick. And I guess rumor has it that there's a photo out there that shows the one ball that we could have had that was trapped in the slot. That was trapped in the slot a half a second before the clock went out, and then they hit it, and then we lost out in the 2nd overall pick. Because it was a 7, and the 7 ball was up there, and then, but they had to do it at 30 seconds exactly. And so the Bruins got screwed, which after this season, shocker, right? But yeah, so the Bruins got number 7. I would say trade it. Try to get an established young player. Hopefully Ottawa would be dumb enough to trade Brady Tkachuk to you for the 7th overall pick and maybe another one. Because at the end of the day, do you really trust Don Sweeney to get it right? Do you? Because I don't. I know Cam Neely was saying, oh, well, in 2015, blah, 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 we screwed that up. Yeah, well, Cam, not for nothing, you screwed up a hell of a lot more drafts than just 2015. That's the most blatant, egregious one. And, with Kevin Paul DuPont, I might have said this last week, but with Kevin Paul DuPont, Cam asked Kevin, hey, how did we, screw up? And Kevin's first response was, well, you never drafted in the top 10. Not for nothing, it's kind of a good thing. That means you kept making the playoffs. You kept your roster intact and kept moving. Like, I don't blame them for not drafting in the top 10. I blame them for picking players who shouldn't be picked at those spots. Right? That's what he should have said. And then Cam might have had a whole different reaction. But either way, it's just been the Bruins are just I don't see a bright future for us right now. I really don't. And I think next season is going to be a very long season. I hope they can pull some things out and make some draft day trades and make things a hell of a lot more interesting. But I don't know. Do you think the Bruins should keep the 7th overall pick with Don Sweeney at the helm, or do you think they should trade it and get a young established all-star? You know what to do. So thank you so much for sticking around, listening to All My Thoughts. Thank you to Not Doug for his comment, and thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. And this is the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett, and this show is presented by the Grid Network. Shout out to the Grid. If you haven't, please like, share, subscribe on all the Grid shows. They have a ton of great content out there for you, all sports related. So it's been a lot of fun. So once again, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for sticking around. Obviously, we had a rough game too last night, but thank you and God bless. Have a great weekend, everybody.